It's okay, it's so thick. Hardly lost any. Make a homemade vegan cream cheese in just 5 minutes. It's so surprisingly creamy, it's savory, full of protein, and half the price of store-bought cream cheese. I just realized that we made this recipe as part of our very first YouTube video where I made my smoky carrot lox. So I think that just proves that this recipe needs a video of its own, because we're still making it, because it is so easy, it's quick, and it uses ingredients that we always have on hand. The main ingredient that provides all the creamy texture and protein for this vegan cream cheese is extra firm tofu. And this recipe makes 227 grams, which is the same as those smaller tubs of cream cheese that you might find in your grocery store. And in order to make that amount, I don't even use the whole 350 gram block of tofu. So I'm only going to use 200 grams of this block of tofu. So 175 is half. I'll cut about there. Because this brand of tofu is actually already pressed, you can see how thin it is. I don't have to do anything extra before adding it to my blender. So I just break it apart with my hands and toss it right in the blender. And actually, I don't think I've used my tofu press in a couple of years. So if you're someone who cooks with tofu a lot, then let me know in the comments if you are still pressing your tofu, because I feel like there are so many more brands available that are already pressed. I'm gonna try to find my tofu press. I'll go through that process just in case yours isn't pressed. Okay. I actually don't use this because you can tell from where it is and how I have to get there. They're all a little bit different, but essentially what happens is that you put the tofu in, and this one I really like because you can adjust it depending on the size of your tofu. You just wind these down. Obviously it wouldn't be this pressed already. Get that as equal as you can to put some pressure on the tofu, and then all the excess water, if your tofu has excess water in it, will start pooling out. So I usually would just balance it on a bowl like so, and then the excess water drips out. And after about 15 minutes or so, your tofu will be sufficiently pressed, and you can kind of adjust the knobs while water's coming out, and that way you can keep pressing it a little bit more and a little bit more. And you can see that because this is pressed, nothing is coming out. You don't need a tofu press though. So if you're just getting started with tofu, for the first couple years, all I did was wrap the tofu in a clean kitchen towel and then balance something heavy on top of it. So I would put my cutting board on top of the wrapped piece of tofu and then balance something like my full kettle on top of that, or cookbooks, to try to weigh it down. And I am glad to say that these are devices of the past, because if this seems like a little much, it kind of is, but it's also not. So if your tofu has excess water and you have to take a few minutes to press some water out, it's not the end of the world. But if you can find pressed tofu, then choose that one. Next, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of nutritional yeast. If this isn't an ingredient that you have in your pantry, then you might be thinking this recipe is not as simple as she thinks it is, but I swear that nutritional yeast is a pantry staple for plant-based cooking. It is a fortified, deactivated yeast, and it's fortified with all kinds of vitamins and minerals, so it's a great nutritional supplement for plant-based eaters, but it also adds a ton of savory, cheesy flavor to all of your dishes. So even if you're not exclusively plant-based, then this is a great seasoning to have in your pantry. Does it have any sodium in it? 25 milligrams, 1% sodium. So it's a low sodium option for huge savory umami flavor. This is also becoming a lot easier to find in your everyday local grocery stores. And I actually buy mine from my bulk store for a better price, and I've just kept the Bob's packaging and I refill it from the bulk store. So although this is one of the pricier seasonings that we buy, considering it replaces cheese for us, then the savings are still pretty substantial. Although this is a weird this always reminds me of fish food. It's a strange, flaky seasoning, but it just dissolves and melts into your pasta sauces, your dips. So anything that you want to taste cheesy without using dairy, then this is your new best friend. Next, I'm adding 1.5 tablespoons of lemon juice, and I'm just obviously using concentrated lemon juice today, but if you have fresh, then that's always better. 1/2 tablespoon ish apple cider vinegar. Adding some acid will give the vegan cream cheese that tangy flavor that traditional cream cheese has. And next, I'm going to do a 1/4 teaspoon salt. And then from here, you can pretty much flavor your cream cheese however you'd like. I'm going to make my garlic dill version. It's savory, it's delicious. For that, I'm going to add a 1/4 teaspoon-ish of black pepper. Who measures black pepper, right? 3/4 teaspoon garlic powder. And then finally, 1 tablespoon of fresh or frozen dill. And today I'm using frozen dill. You could use a ground dill as well, maybe a 1/4 teaspoon or so. And then all that's left is some plant milk. Regardless of what flavor you're making your cream cheese, add 1/8 cup to a 1/4 cup-ish of plant milk. So that will depend on how much moisture you have in your tofu in order to get the cream cheese to blend down smoothly. So start with 1/8 cup, 2 tablespoons, and then blend and see how you're doing and add more if needed. So stop your machine and scrape down the sides as needed, and then you can take a peek and see how the creaminess factor is and if it needs some more milk. It's looking pretty creamy already, but I'm going to add a splash more milk. And you want to be careful with this because you want it to be smooth, but you don't want it to be liquidy because cream cheese is pretty thick. And use your fingers if you need. So give it a taste, and then you can adjust the flavor as you need. That's pretty good already. So if you can detect too much tofu taste, then salt and lemon juice will probably be your answers. So I'm gonna add a tiny bit more salt and a tiny bit more lemon juice. Let's do this so I don't dump a ton. Pro tip right there. Splash. One more blend. Oh, it's so creamy. Look at that. I was just thinking about how you could flavor this different ways and how you could sweeten it and how you could add onion powder and make like a chive and onion flavor. And then I was tempted to check out what the flavors of cream cheese are nowadays. There's pumpkin spice, there's strawberry, which I think has been around for a little while. And you've got the chive and onion, the jalapeno, but there's so many sweet ones. There's blueberry, pineapple. I've got to get out more. And one last thing to note is that this is a little bit soft still. This will firm up in the fridge. Keep that in mind. This is a great creamy texture, but if you want that really firm cream cheese, then be careful about how much liquid you add. Add as little as you possibly can, and just pop this in the fridge for a little bit, and then you'll be able to get that firmer cream cheese texture. I mentioned in the opening that this vegan cream cheese is about half the price of store-bought cream cheese. So this recipe makes 227 grams and costs us about $2.50 versus around $4.99 for a store-bought cream cheese. I have linked to this recipe down below for you, as well as my carrot lox recipe. Give that a try and let me know in the comments how you flavor your cream cheese. Are you a pineapple, a pumpkin spice fan? Let me know. If you've liked this video, please hit that subscribe button, comment, share it, do all those things that help our channel grow, and make sure that you make this, put it on some smoky carrot lox, put it on your bagels, your little cucumber sandwiches, and we'll see you in the next one.